Okay, so this is what I currently work on, and the way this thing works is you have what's called a solenoid. The way a solenoid works is you have a magnet here and then an electromagnet over here. And an electromagnet only is magnetic if you give it electricity. Okay, so you give it an electrical signal and it becomes magnetic, and the opposites attract and it'll turn, right? And so that's how a solenoid works. So that's what this thing here is. What happens, I'm going to hit this button and it's going to give it an electrical signal and it'll turn that wheel. So pay attention, you can see that little dot there, and it's pretty quick, but I'll do this a few times. See that dot moving, right? Okay, and so what we do is we put one solenoid here, and then we have to give it the exact right combination in order for it to work. And if we don't give it that combination, what happens is we lock it up. So it makes it so that you can't unlock it, you can't make it turn unless you take the assembly apart and actually push it kind of like this so that it unlocks. So I'll let you guys play with this a little bit. But this is the A wheel, this is a B wheel, and that's the code. So what you got to do is you got to go through that code, then that code, and that code. And if you get back to here, that means you put in the right code. But this thing, it takes us about, it's an 18-month design cycle. So you spend about 3 months designing it, about a year to buy all the parts that go into it and then make it, and then another 3 months testing it. And the cool thing about testing is we get to do things like put it on a big table, and they have these tables that have big bungee cords about that big. What we do, we put it on top, and then we let those bungee cords go, and it slams down into a steel block, hits it at about 300 feet per second. So that's pretty good speed there, and it's about 60 miles an hour, give or take. So it'll slam it into that block, and then we see if it breaks. And if it breaks, then we know we have to do something to fix it because it's not surviving the environment that we want it to survive. And what we do is we do a lot of calculations, because everything in that assembly you can kind of have a mathematical approximation to it. So when that thing's going to break, there's some mathematical formulas that tell us if you put this force and you hit it this fast, then it'll break in this way. So we do a lot of math to make sure that this thing's not going to break under all the environments that we are going to put it under. So that's what it takes to get that thing. It's on the order of a $6 million per year project. So we spend about $6 million. There's a team of 18 people that have to make that thing happen. So, you guys got any questions?
You do get paid a lot for it?
I get paid about $95,000 a year. So pretty good living. Keeps me comfortable.
Who was the most influential person in your life growing up from the background that you did in the gang-infested neighborhood that you grew up in?
So,
what were the people or person that actually helped you succeed and be the person that you are today?
So I would have to say it was my parents, because they kept me out of the trouble. You know, they didn't let me go and do gang banging. They didn't let me stay out late. They didn't let me do a lot of stuff. And you know, as a kid, you don't think that's very fun, because your friends in the neighborhood are out doing stuff, and it seems like they're having a lot of fun. But you know, thinking back on it, I got kids of myself, and I think, you know, there's no way that I'll let my kids go out with gang banging friends and doing whatever, just because that's an attractive lifestyle. I mean, you get a lot of gang bangers that make a lot of money, and you think, hey, that's something that I want to do. But it's not really, because there's a lot of risk associated with it. I'm never going to go to jail because of this thing, but in the gang banging life, you might. So took a lot of that to, so I guess back to your question, my dad was kind of my mentor, and he was a funny guy because he refused to pay anybody for anything. And so he built his own house, he worked on all his cars, he did all of that, and he kind of taught me to work hard to try to achieve my goals. So, and he's the one that got me interested in this, because he had me working on cars since I was about 10 years old. And so I was working, I was trying to fix them, trying to find out how they work, trying to find out why they broke, because we had cars that broke down all the time. And so we worked on them a lot. And so that's kind of what got me into this, being interested in how you make something like this work. And mechanical engineering is all about things that move. And so cars are things that move, and that's why I got so interested in mechanical engineering. So that's where I am. Any more questions?
Have you engineered or made a robot?
So when I was in graduate school, I went to graduate school at UNM. They did, there was a class called Lego Robotics. And so we had to build a robot out of Legos, and then we had to program it to follow a little track. So we did a lot of computer programming to follow a little track using these little sensors. And then it had to go grab something, pick it up, go back and follow the track back into the goalpost, and then put it in the goalpost. So it was a game, and it was a class. And it was a class that I got credit for just playing. You know, you play around with Legos and you program it, and I got real into it because it's pretty cool. But that was the robot that I got to build and program. So, and I got to work at NASA. So I did what's called a co-op. You're going to school, but you get to go work at the same time to get some experience. And I got to work on these robots that they have there that are eventually going to go up into Mars. And what they'll do is they'll follow the astronaut as they're walking. They'll follow them along without just by themselves. So the astronaut doesn't have to make it do anything. It just does it by itself so that they can carry all their tools and everything they need on that robot. They have it all, and it just follows them. It's like a mule. So those are the robot stories that I have. But now I work on things like these, which are not robots, but they're pretty cool anyways.